Hey Red Sox fans, Don and Gaff here. We're still here. We're going for another question on the Red Sox for the coming season. Can't wait for spring training to get started, to tell you the truth. This time we want to talk about David Ortiz, Big Papi. Um, as everybody knows, he's announced his retirement after the 2016 season. So the question is, what should we expect of him in his final season? And then as soon as the season's over, we're going to start talking about Hall of Fame. So, Gaff, why don't you go first?
Okay.
What do you think we can expect?
I think you can expect, I don't know, 270, 250, 275, and probably 20, 25 home runs. I think he'll still do pretty well for being 40 years old. Now, in terms of the Hall of Fame, as I understand it, there's no DH in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
And if I had a vote, I would not vote for him because he's only doing half the job.
Yep.
So, that's how I feel about that. Although I love Big Papi, there's no question, but if you look at statistics of the people that are in there, everyone's played both offense and defense, as far as I understand.
Yeah. Well, the last big DH that had come up was Edgar Martinez.
He was good.
And he's very good. And he's not in.
Yeah, I just don't see him in the Hall of Fame.
Well, let me tackle the first part. What should we think for Ortiz's last season as a Red Sox? Well, again, if he can just do what his historical average has been over the last 19 years, big sample size, 26 homers, 88 RBIs. Last year, he had an outstanding year, 37 homers, 108 RBI. So, if he can you have to expect his skills have to deteriorate somewhat. I mean, he's 40 years old. And these numbers, 26 and homers, 88 RBIs, those are pretty comparable to what A-Rod did last year at age 40. So if he did that, I'd be happy with that. And he's still a force in the middle of the lineup. He's somebody that can talk to players like Hanley and Pablo and some of the younger kids, and I think the other players look up to him. So I think he can be helpful in a number of ways, maybe even more in the dugout and in the clubhouse. But certainly on the field, he's still a force to be reckoned with. So I'd be looking for him to put up 26, 88 is good with me. Anything more than that is great. Maybe a little less than that if he gets injured or whatever happens during this year. As far as the Hall of Fame goes, I really think we're talking about two things. We're talking, like you said, can we ever get a DH, a true DH, into the Hall of Fame? And again, because the American League is the only league that uses the DH, our National League team writers are going to vote for a DH when they don't use it. That's a huge question. And then the other question that still kind of eats at you a little bit is when they had this anonymous testing, and he got dinged for a PED way back in whatever it was, 2003, and he's been tested hundreds of times since then. He's never had a positive test, and this was when MLB was using that just to put their own PED policy in force.
Right.
So I think the DH position itself and that one PED positive test, those are things that would keep Ortiz out of the Hall of Fame. But if you look at everything else, 500 plus home runs, almost 1,500 RBIs, he would qualify. So I'm not sure if the writers are ready yet for a DH, and especially a DH that may have a little bit of a black mark from the PED thing back in 2003. He may get in, but I don't think it's going to be on his first few rounds.
Right.
For sure. Do you see him ever getting in?
I don't.
You don't? Wow.
So like you said, the National League.
Yep. But yet I saw on MLB the other day they were talking about Hall of Fame ballots this year.
Yeah.
And Nick Cafardo, one of the guys from Boston, he's voting for A-Rod, he's voting for Bonds, he doesn't think it's a big deal, the PED
Really?
thing. So I think if some of those guys start getting in, maybe that PED issue goes away, but then now you still have to talk about the DH, you know?
Right, but so it's okay to cheat, you say.
Well, yeah, there you go. Yep. So I guess we're both a question mark. I'm thinking maybe like a Jim Rice last year try. Maybe by then the writers will be a little more lenient and Ortiz gets in. But I would think he's still going to have a major role with the team for his last year. And I think he'll be motivated knowing that it's his last year. Will you?
Possibly, but I still wrestle with the thing that he's only played half the game.
Yeah.
You know, or offense, not defense. And what that means to me in terms of being tired, he takes in that bat, he goes sit down, or if he hits a home run, he goes sit down.
Go watch video.
Watch video, but he's not out there concentrating or running or doing anything else.
Right. Well, this is going to come to a head at some point. Again, on MLB, they were talking about rule changes, and they were saying, why don't we just take away or put the DH into play anytime there's an interleague game between the National League and the American League, and just leave the DH when it's two National League teams, because it's such a disadvantage for the AL teams. Or why don't we just make one rule and just say, hey, we're all going to use a DH, get over it kind of thing. Who wants to see a pitcher hit or get hurt or injure himself running down to first base or whatever? But yeah, I don't know. The DH, to me, it's the DH and a PED, and maybe if a couple other PED guys get in, maybe that part of it goes away.
Yeah.
And then it's truly just about the DH situation.
So that means Mark McGuire's going to go in, Palmeiro.
Well, they're on the
Sammy
ballot.
Sosa.
Sosa's on the ballot, yeah. And I'm surprised to hear a guy like Cafardo saying, I voted for these guys the last few years. It wasn't a big deal for him. So, anyway, all right, we'll let you make up your own mind, but we're kind of at odds. We're not sure at this point, but again, he's not eligible for 5 years after that, and then he's on for the ballot for what, 10?
I think so.
Yeah. So lots of time to rehash that. So thanks for listening. Appreciate it.